Hi guys, welcome back to the Chronic Chronicles. I'm your host, Lexy Halloran. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Zahra McDonald, a passionate advocate for endometriosis awareness and education. Zahra was diagnosed with endometriosis during a laparoscopy excision surgery just over a year ago. Since then, she's been sharing her journey, insights, and support on Instagram and TikTok, and she's been featured in different outlets for her inspiring work in raising awareness about endo. Today, we're diving into her personal experience with endometriosis, the realities of living with chronic illness, and living a very busy life, and her mission to help others navigate their own journeys. Why don't we start out by you giving us a little background on who you are, kind of introducing yourself.
So my name's Zahra McDonald.
Mm-hmm.
You've probably seen me on TikTok or Instagram. I run the page Zahra McDonald on TikTok, where I've posted quite a lot about endometriosis and just my personal life. And then I post on Endo with Zahra on Instagram, which is just an endometriosis only account. I live in Adelaide, South Australia, and I'm 23 years old. And I'm studying podiatry, which is quite random to endo, but yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I work part-time doing like content creation and running my social media, and then part-time studying podiatry, which is
That
quite
is really
different.
cool. Yeah, that's really, really interesting. I forgot that you messaged me about that. That's really interesting, though. So how far are you into school? Like, what does that look like in Australia?
I'm third year podiatry. It's out of 4 years. I think it's
Oh,
all
wow.
completely different in America.
Yeah. I don't, well, is this like your first degree then? Or did you do a degree before this too?
No, this is my first degree. So I finished school in 2018 and took a gap year, and then I started
Okay.
podiatry after
Okay.
that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm
It's
23.
okay. Yeah. So it's slightly different in America. You do like a undergraduate degree to get your bachelor's, and then you go to like an advanced school to get any
And I
of
think
the,
America podiatry is more like a doctor, whereas
yeah.
Australia, you're not a doctor. You don't get to be a doctor.
Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha.
So it's a bit confusing, but same sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. You still study the same stuff. You're still looking at feet. So
Still a bit.
very cool. All right. Well, I found you from Instagram personally, and I know that you do a lot of like informational advocacy, talking kind of about your own diagnosis or diagnoses, either way. Can you kind of share your journey that led, this is such a loaded question, but your journey that led to your diagnosis to endo? What did that look like for you?
Probably really long, so I don't know how in depth let go.
However in depth you want to go.
So I got diagnosed last year in July with endometriosis and adenomyosis during
Okay.
surgery,
Yeah.
but that took probably about 10 years of trying to get a diagnosis to get that diagnosis, as a lot of women have found that it's a long wait to finally get someone to listen to you.
Hmm.
So I started my period when I was 12 in year seven.
Yeah.
And I went to so many doctors over the years since then, and it's really taken a long time to finally get someone to listen to me and find out
Hmm.
what's wrong. I didn't even know about endometriosis until like a year and a half ago, probably.
Wow.
And then
Yeah.
I've just sort of all of this, and it's all just sort of happened.
When you were going to all these doctors, like
Hmm.
growing up, what were some of the symptoms you were kind of going in for? Like, what brought you to the doctors?
So my period was completely normal. Like I
Hmm.
didn't really get any sort of strange symptoms the first year or 2 years maybe. And
Yeah.
then probably age like 15 to 17, it was just suddenly absolutely insane. Like they were going for 2 weeks long, extremely heavy, and then happening every 2 weeks. I'd
Oh,
have like 7 days of extremely heavy bleeding. And then the next 7 days would be like a little bit not as heavy. And then like all the symptoms, back pain, cramps, headaches, muscle pain,
hmm.
yeah, bowel problems, just like
Yeah.
everything. So I think I saw like every single specialist you could probably see, like a gynecologist, GPs, bowel doctors, a podiatrist, a physio, like everything, dietitians, naturopaths. And every single doctor came back and was like, nothing's wrong. Like
Yeah.
everything's normal. Like, I don't know, you've probably got low iron from
Hmm.
so much bleeding, but it's just how you are, like nothing's wrong with you, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that probably went on until I was about like 17. And I ended up being like anemic from how much iron I'd lost from all the blood, because it was just every 2 weeks bleeding so heavy. And
Hmm.
then 2 weeks off and then it would start again. So it was quite a lot. And so I think I'd finally found a GP that sort of listened a little bit more, not really, but she had been suggesting the pill. So then I went on the pill and I stayed on the pill last year when I had the surgery. So a long time.
Wow. Yeah.
And skipped all my periods. So I never really had them. I still had the
Hmm.
pain, I still had all the symptoms, but I wasn't really having those same periods because they were just so bad. And I was so traumatized from school and just how bad they were that I just would never have them. And all the
Hmm.
doctors were like, totally fine. Like, you don't need to have your periods at all. It's fine. Until probably like 2 years ago, I started just getting pain. Like, I was already in pain every day, but like it just sort of
Yeah.
ramped up. And it was just more pain, more bowel issues, more sensitivities to food. I was started bleeding and spotting daily and just like
Wow.
my body just started getting really triggered by any slight like inconvenience, like certain foods. If I missed my pill by like 2 hours, I would start bleeding extremely heavy, like
Wow.
just so sensitive to everything.
Hmm.
Sex, I'll start bleeding. Just like any slight little thing that had happened, I would bleed heavy, or just randomly, like I just randomly start bleeding. And this is while I was taking the pill. I was like, well, this
Yeah.
is normal, and this is really inconvenient and annoying. Like something doesn't seem right.
Yeah. So you went
But then
from like not bleeding with the pill to like all of a sudden you would walk different and you were bleeding.
it was crazy. And I'd seen so many GPs about it, and they were all just like, nothing's really wrong. And I didn't really have like a consistent doctor I saw because I just really wasn't getting
Hmm.
any answers. One. And then I found a new GP again, went into her and was like, look, like, just what do I do? I've tried everything. I don't think this is normal. This has happened my entire life. Like, something's wrong. And she's like, okay, we'll do a pap smear. Like, you're too young to have one, but we'll do one anyway, just to check everything out, do blood
Yeah.
tests, do ultrasound, everything. And I was like, great, someone's like actually listening to me. Did all the tests, came back to the appointment next week, and she was like, yeah, you're all good. Nothing's wrong. I was
God.
like, okay. So, what I meant to do then, like, I'm bleeding every single day. Like, I can't live like this. I'm in so much
Yeah.
pain. And she was basically just like, well, some people get heavier periods, some people have it a bit worse. We can prescribe a different pill, we can try a different contraception. I was like, okay, okay, cool. And like, just not knowing what to do at all. And that kept happening for maybe another 6 months, I'd say.
Hmm.
And I was at work one day and I was working with a colleague that was similar sort of age, and she was going in for surgery. So I was asking her a little bit about it, and she was going in for endometriosis surgery. And I'd come up before endometriosis, so I'd seen about it, but I was like, well, I don't have that because everything's come back normal. I've had all the
Hmm.
tests, things
Yeah.
normal, nothing's wrong.
I know, like
And
everybody thinks that I don't know, everyone's like common misconception is something would have popped up, or like if they
exactly,
were even at risk for it, their doctor would have brought it up, but like that's just not what
no.
happens.
And I was saying that to this girl, and she was like, no, 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 like it doesn't show up in any tests. Like,
Hmm.
it's very rare that it would come up in a test. You still could
Yeah.
have it. And so she was telling me all her symptoms, and I was telling her my symptoms, and she was like, something's wrong. Like, that's not normal.
Hmm.
And like, you should definitely get checked out. So she referred me to the gynecologist that she was seeing.
Oh,
And so I thought about
nice.
it for a while. I was still like, I don't really think I have this. Like, I've seen so many people. I'm probably gaslighting myself. Like, I don't think I have this. I'm really being like, I think. And then eventually went and saw this gynecologist, filled out all the paperwork, was answering like yes to every single question on the new patient form.
Yeah.
And maybe talked to her for about like 2 minutes, 5 minutes. And she was like, yeah, I think you have endo. And I was like, oh, okay.
Wow.
Wow. No one's ever really listened to me. That's interesting.
Yeah. It's kind of funny the switch between like once you find the right doctor, they don't even need to hear everything. They're just like, yeah, okay. Like you have something wrong.
Oh, what?
And it's so frustrating.
Yeah.
You go through like years of people that aren't listening to you and you're like fighting tooth and nail. And then you find somebody that is just like, yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. This doesn't make sense.
Okay. And then went through that appointment. Obviously, a lot of emotions because I was like, okay, interesting that this has all just come up now.
Yeah.
And then she'd end up doing all these tests and ultrasound, biopsies, all this stuff in this appointment.
Wow.
And then that was obviously a lot that had happened in that appointment. So I was
Yeah.
quite shaken by the end of it. And then at the end of it, she was like, "So we'll book you in for surgery soon and we'll do the surgery." And I was like,
Wow.
"Oh, so I've never had surgery before." Like,
Yeah.
okay. And like I was in tears because obviously all this stuff had happened during this appointment. So I was quite worked
Yeah.
up by the end of it. And then she just go, "Okay, the people at the front will help you out. I'll see you at your next appointment." I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot all at once.
To me, but at the same time, her bedside manner was atrocious, like so
Yeah.
bad
Yeah.
that it
Like,
was like, oh, God, so many emotions I left that appointment.
mhm.
Just, I don't even know what to do. So I ended up thinking about the surgery for maybe another 9 months because I was just like, I don't know if I should be doing this.
Yeah.
Like, this is a probably don't even have all the things that everyone thinks.
Yeah. I feel like that's such a, it's in my experience, I personally had to like beg my gynecologist to give me surgery. So, but I feel like regardless, anyone
Mm,
who goes through with the surgery, you don't know like what the results are going to be. It's different if you're going and you're getting like your tonsils taken out. Like
yeah.
you know what's going to happen with that and like people are being like you should do this.
Mm,
Your tonsils are too big, like whatever. That is something that it's almost like you don't really have a choice in it. But like with
mm,
endometriosis surgery, you do have a choice in doing it or not. And it can
yeah.
be it depends like on the doctor you have and everything. And like in my experience, my doctor was like kind of scaring me about surgery. She was like, "We don't know if you have it. You could have it. Surgery could make you worse. It's gonna be
Uh,
painful." And I'm like, she's like, "Surgery is not fun. Like, I don't know why you want this." And I'm like, "Because I just want to
like,
know if it's there or not."
yeah. Oh my
So
God.
it's a really hard decision because
Yeah.
you're kind of, I don't know if you felt this way, but you're
Mm,
kind of second guessing all the pain you've
yeah.
had. You're like, did any
Exactly.
of
I'm like,
this happen?
really, like I'm like every day, not
Mhm.
every day.
Yeah. I'm like, am I being dramatic? Is it
Like,
really, is my pain level really a 9?
especially when like every single person has been saying that nothing's
Hmm.
wrong,
Hmm.
and then some person is saying yes, something might be wrong. So it's like, oh,
Yeah. I'm like,
maybe.
so I'm supposed to believe you out of like the 10 people that have told me nothing's wrong. I know it's all just like a mind game and it can, and then that's hard going into a surgery like that, being like, did I just like let them cut me open for no reason? Like that's scary.
Like, traumatizing. Good.
Mhm.
Yeah, like, I'm glad I did it, but
Yeah.
leading up to it, so anxious.
So initially with that diagnosis, like that first day when you're coming out of that appointment and you have that, that is a lot like,
Yeah, so
in
much
one
happened.
time. I know. And like running all of those tests and then being like, okay, like let's book you to surgery. That personally, I feel like that maybe should have been done in a
And
couple
then,
of appointments, but
and I didn't even receive like an information pack or anything. It was just like, we're gonna do surgery. And I had no idea even what the surgery was, what they were doing with it. Like there was no information. It was just like, we'll do surgery and then we'll have a look
yeah.
at everything and fix it all for you. And you'll get the marina. And I was like, oh, okay. This
Yeah.
sounds what?
I know. I feel like sometimes doctors, especially specialists like that, they forget that like they may do that 10 times a day every day, but like you don't do that.
No.
Like this is
I
your
never,
first time.
what?
Yeah. So sometimes they like doctors get into like this routine and they're just like, okay, let's do this, 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 this. And you're like, whoa, like you just changed my entire life in what you
Yeah, exactly.
said. So how did you kind of cope with that?
Yeah, I took quite a while to think about it. I
Mhm.
asked the same girl that I'd been talking to, I'd asked her about it. My current housemate has had the surgery, has endo and all of that. I was asking her about it, and everyone was like, you need to, like, I would do it. So I was like,
Mhm.
okay. And then my mum, who has like very similar symptoms to me, has had it her whole life, was like, oh, it's a big surgery. Like, I'm not sure, like, it's a big thing to do, sort of thing.
Yeah.
If it's really like that's what's happening, but it's not to
Mhm.
put it on because she's had the same sort of symptoms as me, and
Yeah.
she would look better. Like she doesn't know.
Yeah.
So it was like I was having all these different opinions of do I do it, do I not do it, and eventually I was like, I'm just going to do it.
Hmm.
Like I've done so much research on it. I was like, I'll just do it. If I don't have it, I will. They'll find something else, I guess. Like
Yeah.
at least I know it's not that. But yeah,
Yeah. So how did the surgery go for you? Do you remember if you had the excision surgery or if you had the oh my gosh, what's the other one called?
Situation.
Ablation. Yeah. I'm like burning. Like I don't remember what that's called right now.
I had surgery,
Okay.
and it was so confusing the recovery wise because I
Yeah.
got the marine surgery, and I personally don't think that worked with my body. So
Hmm.
for months after my surgery, I genuinely felt like I was so much worse than I started with. Like I was in more
Oh.
pain than before surgery for
Hmm.
probably about 6 to 9 months after the surgery.
Oh
Like
my
it's only
gosh.
I've actually realized that I'm better because I've had the marina taken out. So,
Hmm.
well, yeah, long road. I genuinely thought that they'd done more damage than good and that they hadn't even helped me. I was like, I've got
Yeah.
diagnosis, but I now feel worse than I started with. But
Yeah.
now that I've marina out and all of that, I genuinely feel better. Like my periods are better, my pain's
Okay.
better, no birth control now at all. And I actually feel so much better than I was before the surgery. So it had to have worked.
That's good. Yeah. Was the Mirena, that was like the first IUD you've had, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And when I had the appointment with her as well, she mentioned the marina and goes, "Oh, I don't really know if I really want that." And she was like, "Well, it's the gold standard treatment for endometriosis, so you should probably consider it." Like in my professional opinion, I would say the I would say that marina is best for endometriosis.
Mm-hmm. I
Oh,
know.
okay.
That's what they all
Okay.
say.
Like, great. My mum loves marina. So I was like, okay. I asked a few
Hmm.
people. Everyone was like, yeah. 50% was like, no, don't do it.
Hmm.
Like, well, I'm going to trust the doctor because
Hmm.
that's what to do it. So I was like, I'll just do it. But if that's what's going to be the best thing, then I'm going to trust her
Yeah.
opinion. And it just caused me so much pain. Like I was
Hmm.
just in cramping. I was still bleeding the entire time. So I think
Yeah.
it might have lodged or had moved or something had happened.
There's
And
like, it's so weird because some people don't, like for me, I have the Marina, I'm actually on my third Marina right now.
yeah,
And the insertion process is terrible and taking it out is terrible.
but I was
But
asleep.
the only, yeah, I know, right? I was asleep for one of them. So I'm like, do that every single time, please. Just put me under. But for me, I have not, I've had like spotting every once in a while, but I haven't had a full period in
Yeah.
like over 10 years, which
Mhm. Yeah.
is like very, I'm kind of getting to the point where I'm like, is this okay? Like,
Mhm.
I don't
It's
know. But the last 2 years ago is when I got, or almost like a year and a half ago is when I got my last Mirena put in, my most recent one. And I was like, I don't think I want to be on birth control anymore. Like I haven't had a period in a really long time.
yeah,
I
which is how I
still,
saw.
yeah, like the Mirena, all it has done for me is stop my bleeding. Every other symptom I still have. Like
Yeah,
I still
that
have the
was
really bad cramping. I And what makes it really frustrating is I don't know when my period is at all. So it's almost, and like with endo, you can have cramping not on your period, you can have it on ovulation. Like people
yeah.
get cramping, and I don't know. Like there's a part of me that's like, I can't track my period because my cramps are all the
Mm.
time. Like they
Yes.
happen random times in the month. So I'm like, if I'm not physically bleeding, I have no idea if my cycles are
Mm.
regular. And I'm 26, like I'm getting to the point where I want to have kids, like not right now, but like in a couple of years.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need to know if I'm having normal periods or not. So I know like if I'm fertile and I can't do it on the Mirena. And essentially my gynecologist like told me no. She was like, no, you have to stay on the Marina because remember what your periods were like when you were 16? They're going to be 10 times worse. And I'm like,
Which is
what?
I sort of say, like when I told her that I wanted to take it out and I
Hmm.
didn't want it, she was like, "You can't do that. You're gonna have to go on the pill then instead." And I was like, "No, I want nothing." And she was like, "You can't do that." And I was like,
Yeah.
"I can't do that." I said, "I've got a script for the pill. I'll get that if I need to get it, but I
Hmm.
just want to know what my periods are like now."
Yeah.
And like I haven't years. I want to know what I feel like, not with hormones in my system.
Yeah.
And they
Ugh.
just got to a point, it was like 9 months after my surgery. I just one day randomly just started having the heaviest bleeding, like just ridiculously heavy.
Oh my gosh.
Um, so I called like the helpline, whatever, like the hospital
Yeah.
thingy. And they're like, yeah, definitely come in. Like that's abnormal, blah, blah. Went to hospital. didn't do anything, went back home. They're like, if it gets worse, come back in, but see your gynecologist and get it taken out, sort of thing. They're like,
Yeah.
we can't do any here, so you're gonna have to like do it with your gynecologist. So I was like, okay. Went back home. It got even worse. I got to the point where I like literally I couldn't stand or sit without like excruciating pain.
Oh my
So I was literally
God.
just and I was bleeding still, not as much, but I was still bleeding.
Mm-hmm.
I called up the helpline again and they're like, yeah, definitely go back in. Went back in, genuinely received no help again. They sent me back home just saying, you need to see the gynecologist, you need to get it out, you need to get an ultrasound. It's like, well, I'm trying. It's like,
Yeah.
you've got
Give me an
in
ultrasound here.
like, that you can get. So that was another whole week waiting in pain. Eventually saw my GP who was going to take it out, who like I like and trust. Like I found a good GP
Mm-hmm.
finally. And she was like, yeah, we'll take it out. You can definitely not have any birth control. Like, let's see how it is. Very like for what I wanted to do, which was great. So she
Perfect.
went to take it out. I don't want it anymore. Like, just literally get rid of it. She
Yeah.
went in to look, strings were gone. So you're going to go back to the gynecologist and she's going to have to take it out. And if it's not there, you have to go under and I have to like, go find it.
Yeah.
So, okay. So then I had to try and book him back to the gynecologist. Finally saw the gynecologist and she took it out. It was excruciatingly painful, but it came out. And
Ugh.
within like 5 minutes, the pain was gone. Like it just instantly stopped this extreme pain that I had. Like it
Yeah.
was like probably 5 minutes of like literally if I'd given birth or something, like extreme pain. And then it was gone. Like it's completely gone. It was such a strange feeling.
It sounds like
But
your body definitely did not want
no.
that.
And I think also with like the I always say it wrong. Adenomyosis.
Yeah.
I
I,
think
I
that
always
and
do too.
I don't think they like each other.
Hmm. Yeah, I've actually heard that from a couple of other people that have adeno that they have not done well with IUDs. But I mean, it kind of makes sense if you think about it. Like
Yeah.
with
But so
adeno,
inflamed.
yeah, yeah,
Putting
it's so
something.
inflamed like in your actual uterus, and then you're putting something up there.
Mm,
Like kind of makes sense.
exactly.
Especially you could be like literally hitting tissue. Like the IUD could
Mm.
be sitting on adeno
I think it
tissue.
was in like certain ways I'd like move or sit. I could like feel this pain like
Oh,
instantly. It was just something was wrong. And I was like, I don't want this anymore. Just take it
yeah.
out.
Yeah,
And
that's
since then, and since the surgery, I actually feel better.
good.
Finally.
Um, yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about the excision surgery like long term, but I've heard
Mm,
that the recovery process is
mm,
rough. Um,
yeah.
but I mean with you, it's almost like you don't even know like which part was
Like
really from the surgery and what was from your IUD and
the surgery itself, like I went back to work after 2 weeks, but
mhm,
like body wise, I think it would have taken like 2 months to properly heal at
yeah.
minimum. 6 months at least.
There's a
But
lot
yeah.
that goes into that surgery. I know with my surgery, I had the ablation back
Mm,
in 2018. I
hmm.
feel like the excision existed, but like I was never given that option. Like I didn't even know that it was a thing until like a couple years ago. So I had the ablation done and yeah, I don't know. The recovery, my doctor was like, you should be good to go in like 2 or 3 days. That was not the case.
That's
Yeah,
that's insane.
I couldn't even like walk up and down stairs for a week. So,
No, yeah, I couldn't get out of bed for a week, like by
yeah,
myself, ever
yeah,
to actually like start doing things.
yeah. So I know people like doctors are like, oh, like the excision and the ablation, they're laparoscopic, so they're fairly
Mm.
easy surgeries. Like you'll feel better. And I'm like, it doesn't feel easy. I don't know. I wish they would stop saying that.
I know.
So, so in your surgery, did you get diagnosed? You got diagnosed with both endo and adeno then?
So
Okay.
yeah, the tissue they excised was positive for endometriosis, and then adenomyosis was just based on appearance and symptoms because
Yeah.
you can't be diagnosed without a hysterectomy.
Yeah.
But she's like, you definitely have it. Like it's very swollen. She showed me photos straight after the surgery, and I was like, oh my god,
Wow.
like it looks upset.
Even after my surgery, my doctor was just like, okay, so I remember she came in the room like literally right after surgery. I'm like
Yeah,
recovering, and she's like, "Okay, you have stage 4 endo," and I'm like, "Okay, what does that mean?" I'm like, cool. And I was like, that sounds good. And she's like, yeah, like there's nothing to celebrate though, because this is chronic and like you're gonna have it forever. And I'm like, I don't know what to say to that. Like I'm like 19, 20.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is rough. And then I didn't see her again for like 8 weeks.
Mm.
Like didn't know anything about it. She replaced my IUD in the surgery and then saw her like 8 weeks later and I was still in pain. Like honestly, I was never not in pain. There was maybe for after like probably a month, probably like week 4 to I don't know, 12 or 16, I had like decreased pain, but I was still in pain.
Yeah.
And I told her that like at our 8 week appointment, I was like, hey, like, did you get it all? I also had like not an understanding of what the surgery was because I was like,
Mm.
did you get it all? And she was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, what do you mean?
What do you
I'm
mean?
like, I'm like, what do you mean? Like, did you get all of the endo? And she was like, that's not possible. So, like, and I'm like, what? I'm
What
like,
was the
then
point?
why? I know, I'm like, why
What?
did you do the surgery then? And she was like, this is what I told you. Surgery doesn't help. And like, that was just to diagnose you. And I did remove some of it, but I can't like search all through your body for it. And I'm like, what? Like, what is going on? So she's like, yeah, and you can't have another surgery for 5 years. And I'm like, what? So like, I had no idea any of the information. Like, it all felt very um, but yeah, she basically just like didn't tell me like any information. So I'm like, I guess I'm confused what the surgery was
Yeah.
supposed to do because she was like not she but then at the same token, she was like, also it's not possible for you to be in pain again yet. Like the surgery is supposed to help for at least 2 years. And I'm like, what? Like it's been 8 weeks. So I'm like, obviously you did something wrong. Like I don't know why you're and then she insisted that I do like pelvic floor physical therapy and I start
Mhm.
or Orlissa, which I don't do you guys have Orlissa in
I've
Australia?
heard, but
Okay.
I don't know anything.
It's essentially a drug that tricks your body into thinking you're in menopause.
Oh
So
yeah.
long story short, I did all the things she wanted me to do, even though I didn't want to do any of them because I was still in pain after the surgery. And then
Obviously.
she just never once explained literally anything. I was like, I don't understand like what's happening in my body, and she never ever explained it. So, and I like didn't even I asked to be referred to an endo specialist, and she was like, not until you take anxiety medication because anxiety is what is making you
Oh my
flare.
God.
And I'm like,
Oh.
this is crazy. So, anyways,
Yeah. No, that's crazy.
they sometimes, that being said, like I do have a really great doctor now, and I think because I had a doctor that never explained anything, I literally go into the doctors now and I'm like, I'm not leaving until you explain what's happening. Because I'm like, I cannot walk out of here confused again.
Exactly. Which is good.
Um, yeah. Unfortunately, I feel like that's something that people with endometriosis kind of like have to
Mm.
learn how to do very quickly. Just like advocate and ask for what they need because if you don't ask for it, like most doctors or people in general are not gonna like give it to you because they just don't know to do that. Like they don't know that you don't know. So,
Exactly.
so did your when your doctor was like showing you your surgery pictures and stuff, were they kind of explaining like
Yeah,
what was
so
happening?
I remember it was after I'd woken up from the surgery. Maybe it was the day after the surgery,
Hmm.
and I was in a lot of pain, like obviously, because I had
Yeah.
surgery. And she'd come in and showed me the photos, and she showed me all the endo that she'd found and like what it looked like, and it was dark.
Yeah.
And she told me she'd cut them out, like get them checked to see if it's endo, but she thinks I have adenomyosis. So I was like, oh, well, I've got one diagnosis. And I was like, okay, I've got that. Even though she'd shown me the photos of the endo, in my head I was like, I don't have endo. Like that's not endo. Like at least I've got this, but I definitely don't have like endometriosis.
Yeah.
Because I'd looked at the pictures, even though she'd literally shown me to my face, the amount of times that you've just been told that
Yeah.
nothing's wrong, I
Yeah,
was like, yeah, no, I don't.
it's hard
It's
for you to
bad enough.
understand.
Crazy.
Uh, so how obviously like the initial diagnosis like after well, after the surgery too. How long did it take you to kind of like come to terms with having endo and then like being
Mm,
okay with that?
yeah, I think it was a week after the surgery, a nurse called me and then she told me that I had endometriosis. I was like, oh, okay, so now I've got two things. So then I just kind of one of them, and now I'd found out that I've actually got endometriosis as well,
Yeah.
which was, I don't know, such a strange feeling. Like I
Mhm.
was excited because I was like, oh my God, like I actually know what's wrong with me finally.
Yeah.
Finally. And then the more I researched about it, I was like, oh my God, there's nothing about it. There's no information. No one's posting about it. There's no
Hmm.
information. The doctors told me nothing. The gynecologist has given me no information about how long it's like meant to take to heal,
Yeah.
what to do, treatment options. And so that was a bit depressive, and realizing that
Yeah.
this is long. There's no
Hmm.
known cause. There's no cure. So
Hmm.
I was like, oh, okay, great.
Yeah. It it can feel really confusing and really isolating because you're like, well, um, no one is really like talking about it. And there's also, again, like there's just no information. And I'm like, how is it for me, the further I like looked into it and I saw like statistics about like 1 in 10 women having it and
Crazy.
like it takes this long to diagnose and all this stuff. I'm like, okay, so like people have it. I'm like, why is there no information about it? Like this doesn't make sense. Um, so
And then
then
the
go ahead.
um, so I started posting like vlogs
Yeah.
on my TikTok when I had the surgery. So I'd posted like a beforehand, like packing my bag for the surgery, going to the surgery, and I was like, even if this comes back and I don't have it, like I'll still
Yeah.
post them
Yeah.
because whatever, like we'll just make a vlog out of it anyway. Both things. And then the amount of traction and engagement they got, there was hundreds and hundreds of comments from people being like, oh my God, I think I have this too. I just had surgery too.
Oh,
Recovering okay. And then I had so many messages. And I think like that helped me so much with recovery because I
yeah.
was talking to hundreds of women every day. Like I was just sitting in bed texting all these
Yeah.
people around the world that had endometriosis or about to have endometriosis, like all the surgeries and everything. And yeah, I was like, oh my, I actually want to know about this as much as I do. But no one's talking
So
about it.
that was happening like real time, like when
Yeah,
you, wow.
I was
Yeah.
posting them each day, and then each day I posted them. The influx of DMs and messages and shares and
Hmm.
everything. I was like, oh my God, so many people are like actually interested in this and
Yeah.
the exact same experience, like almost the exact same.
I know it's kind of insane. Like you
Mm,
obviously feel this way talking to a bunch of other people, but since I've started this podcast, like the amount of people that I've talked to that have endometriosis and we're like, our stories are the exact same.
yeah,
Like the amount of people that I'm like telling my story, they're like, "Oh my God, are you me? Like you're speaking what happened to me." And I'm like, it's like a good
yeah,
feeling because you think about like all the times that you felt super alone, but then it's also like immensely sad because why? Like
yeah. Why
we
is there no
shouldn't,
help? Why is there no
why are we all going through the same
information?
thing and no one is like
And why do
doing
no doctors
anything?
doing
Yeah.
or anything? It's
Yeah.
insane.
Um, so a little bit about like your page and everything. So it sounds like you really started it as more of uh kind of a way for you to share your recovery and everything. Is that right?
I remember preparing for the surgery. I was searching on TikTok as I do, and I was searching on Google. Google's coming up with nothing. So I was like, I want to look at TikTok. I want to see like people's real experiences. Like I want to see how they recovered, how they looked, scars, everything about it.
Yeah.
And I really couldn't find what I wanted to watch. Like there just wasn't the information I wanted or the videos that I
Hmm.
was looking for. So I was like, well, if I post them, I'm sure that someone wants to see them and someone else is looking for this that I'm looking to watch. So that's why I started posting it. And then once I posted it, the amount of engagement I got, I was like, okay, well, people definitely do want to see this and do want to learn about it. So I continued posting like daily endo vlogs, recovery, information, just different things on my TikTok, and it all did really well. But I didn't want my TikTok to just be like endo because I posted
Yeah.
other parts on TikTok. So then I was, you know what, I should just start an Instagram where I can post only TikTok. I mean, sorry, an Instagram where I can post choices. I can do like drawings and do photos and do a bit of both because I still wanted to be able to put
Yeah.
photos on there, solely video content, and I can do stories. Like, so that's pretty much why I'd gone into making that page.
Okay.
And it's so quickly. Like, there are so many people
Yeah.
that are, which was crazy.
Yeah,
How,
I feel like it just happens that way. And I
mm,
obviously saw you from Instagram as well. And I feel like your content has, I hate calling it that. I hate calling it content, but I don't know what else to call it.
yeah.
It's definitely resonated with a lot of people. So has that like changed the way that you view endo now? Like,
Yeah, to an extent, I would
mhm,
say, like, I'm almost grateful to be diagnosed with endometriosis so that I can post about it. Like, I feel like it gives me, like, I don't know how to word it, but like, I feel like I have a reason to sort of post about it and all
mhm.
of that.
Yeah,
Just
it's kind
how
of it,
like engage with and comment and the
yeah.
message. There is
Yeah,
so
it
many.
gives you a huge community.
And the
Which,
amount of people that have messaged me and said, "Thank you so much for posting what you post. Like, love your content, and I just love seeing your videos that you post."
mhm.
And the amount I've received like that, I'm like, okay, well, I should keep doing this.
Yeah,
No, doing it. Like, I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't like doing it.
yeah. I do think it's very important to see people's lives with endometriosis and the recovery process and
And how
like
raw, people want to see how genuine it is.
yeah, yeah, because I mean, I think about like high school Lexy when I had no idea what the fuck was going on in my body and I'm like I wish that I could have went on social media and seen somebody going
Yeah.
through something and I could have been like, "Oh, maybe I have that." Because
Mm.
a lot of like people don't talk about it and doctors don't bring it up. So most of the time people have to go into the doctor and be like, "Hey, like I have these symptoms. Can you check me for these things or can we talk about these things?" And
Yeah.
at the very least, your content is at least like giving information to people so that they can ask more questions. And
Mm.
obviously, I don't want anyone to self-diagnose, but like you're allowed to ask your
Yeah.
doctors questions and be like, hey, like I
Mm.
have symptoms like this. I want to talk about it. So it's interesting.
It is.
I wanted to ask you like how you're obviously very busy being in school, doing like content stuff and just like life in general.
Mm.
How do you balance having a chronic illness and doing all of that?
Honestly, I don't know. Like, today, I had my period started 2 days ago, and I had clinic today, so I was treating patients today, and I was in
Oh,
so much pain.
yeah.
I just took all the pain medicine I've got. Sometimes I even wear like a little like a stick-on heat pack that you can stick
Hmm.
to your skin that keeps, like, it's quite warm.
Yeah.
But no, I don't have the answers. That's my most commonly asked question is like, how do you get through the pain? How do you do it?
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't know. I don't have the answers,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
That's a
I
great
just
answer though. Like it's a genuine answer because I get that question all the time too. And I feel like most people are like searching for like a fix all, and that's just like not the reality of the situation.
sadly, really sadly, but there isn't.
Yeah, but I will say that the sticky heating pads, I love
Yeah, they
those too. Okay, let's take a quick break to talk about something that we all know a little too well, cramps. As somebody with endometriosis, and a lot of you listening probably have endo PCOS or some other chronic pain disorder, we've all been there, curled up in a ball, trying to figure out which kind of pose might actually help get rid of these cramps, or frantically Googling natural ways to stop feeling like a human pretzel. Some days, the eco friendly, natural period pain relief brand that's here to save the day, or rather the week, or for me, the 14 days that I'm actually on my period, they've got everything: heating pads, soothing creams, bath soaks, all designed to tackle cramps and make you feel a little more human again. My personal fave is their cramp cream. It's like a mini massage for your belly, but without actually leaving your bed. Plus, all their products are natural, sustainable, totally guilt free. So, whether you're dealing with light discomfort or full on, why is my uterus doing this to me? Which, happens a lot. Some days is my go-to, and if you want to give them a try, you can use code Chronic Chronicles for 15% off site-wide. Check them out and make your next period a little bit less painful.
Definitely since the surgery, like my bleeding is less and my pain is reduced,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not going to go away, sadly.
Yeah,
It's always there.
it's still something you deal with for sure. Um,
I, I try to make sure that I have some sort of downtime. I
mhm.
don't have much, but I try to like allow some sort of time just to rest and not overdo it because
Yeah.
I do it a lot.
So say you're having like a really bad cramp day. Your cramps are high. And
Yeah,
walk me through like what your day would look like for that? Like you have things to do. You can't be in bed all day.
yeah.
What would you do?
If I'm not calling in sick to work or uni and I'm going in person, I just stock up on every supply that I can think of and just come over prepared for everything. Like heat packs, portable heat packs, pain medicine,
Hmm.
uh, herbal sort of peppermint. You can get like peppermint sort of capsules or
Oh yeah.
gassing, all that sort of stuff. I just try and stock up on as much as I can
Hmm.
and just sort of keep to myself. Like I won't sort of hang out too much in group settings, like just have some downtime when I can by myself
Yeah.
and just
Yeah.
like I guess that's
Have you have you found that like anything, I don't know, for me, this sounds, no one believes me when I say this, and that's fine. But because I didn't even believe me for like a long time, but recently it started helping a little bit. When I'm having like 10 out of 10 cramps, obviously I do
mm,
all of that stuff as well. Like I always have a heating pad on me when I have really bad cramps, but I also like do some deep breathing to kind of like I try to expand. I do like belly breathing. I try to like expand my stomach as much, even though like I'm really crampy and it doesn't feel good to do that, but it's almost like I need my stomach to like move.
yeah, I try
Um,
and do massaging as well, like some sort
yeah.
of like static drainage sort of
Yeah,
move stuff.
just like stuff, move things.
Try and get something moving.
Yeah, because with like endo, obviously bowel issues can come into play when you are having really bad cramping. But then there's also the fact that like your adhesions can literally be
Mm.
like essentially gluing your organs together and they're not moving like they should be. So it can be nice to like literally massage things out and allow them to have some mobility. Um, okay. Last one-ish question for you. Do you have any, considering your Instagram page and kind of the advocacy that you're doing, is that something you
Mhm.
plan on continue doing? Like, or gosh, is
Yeah.
that something you plan on continue doing?
Yes, I do,
Okay.
definitely. That's something I don't know. I really enjoy posting and
Mhm.
making videos and drawings, and I feel like it's almost like a bit of a creative outlet for me. Like I
Yeah.
really enjoy doing it a lot, so it's definitely not going to stop.
Hmm.
And I definitely have a lot more planned for the page. There's some exciting things coming up
Ooh.
yet, but look out.
Yeah,
Definitely
that
not
sounds
going any.
fun. Perfect. And is there anything else that you want to talk about, that you want to tell people about? Any advice for anyone?
Oh, um, I feel like that it's okay to rest and it's okay to ask for help
Hmm.
and not to be too hard on yourself.
Hmm.
Like it is a big thing having a chronic illness and
Hmm.
having endometriosis and really like actually taking time for yourself to just do a bit of self-care. And
Yeah.
it's okay. It's okay to take the time just for yourself and really just look after yourself, I think, which I feel like that's a message for myself. Just to relax.
Just a reminder. Yeah. No, I feel the exact same way. I sometimes get frustrated with my body because there are so many things that I want to do. And
Mm,
even though like I have the mental capacity to do them, like physically my
yeah.
body is like, no, you can't do that many things. So it can be really frustrating to like have to lay in bed in pain when you're like, there are so many things that I want to be doing right now. So
Or like
I,
sort of I really want to do these things, but I know if I do them, then
yeah,
I'm gonna be and I can't afford to be in pain.
exactly. Exactly. So that yeah, that's what I was about to say is that I have learned that if I don't give my body rest, my body will make me rest. So
Yeah.
I might as well do it on my own time than, having to not go to things because my body's like, well, you didn't do it before. So here you go.
So,
Where can people find you?
you can find me on Instagram at Endo with Zahra,
Mhm.
or my personal Instagram is Zahra McDonald, and my TikTok is Zahra McDonald.
Beautiful. I'll put those in the show notes as well so people can read where they are too. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. This was fun.
I
Yee.
enjoy it.
Thank you. That's a wrap for today's episode of the Chronic Chronicles. A huge, huge thank you to Zahra for joining us and sharing her powerful story and her advocacy work. If you're not already following her, be sure to check out her content at Endo It with Zahra on Instagram. Her work is such a valuable resource for anyone navigating endometriosis or looking for a larger community or looking to better understand this chronic condition. If you'd like to catch up more with me or the podcast, you can follow us at Chronic Chronicles Pod on Instagram. And be sure to leave a review or a rating here for this podcast. The more ratings and reviews we have, the more likely we are to connect with more people like you and continue to grow our community. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next Wednesday.